Hello everybody, it's me, Major Graft, and today we are here to do Towny Mayor's Guide Part 2. If you haven't seen Part 1, don't worry, you can click on the link up at the top there and you can go and watch that now. If you have seen Part 1 and you are eager for Part 2, let's get on with it. And today we are going to be doing a few different things. We're going to be showing how to set up your town taxes so you don't run out of money. We are going to be setting up some farms and some wild plots, and we're going to be creating an entrance to the town that only certain people can use. And to do some of that, we are going to be using a really handy feature called plot groups to make sure that you can change the plot permissions on different types of plots really quickly and really easily. So here is the starter town that we claimed for last episode, and you can see I've done a little bit of an upgrade to the town spawn, and we've been doing a little bit of building. We have built the farms, the town walls, and some wilds beyond it that we're going to be using in today's video. But the first thing we need to do that we didn't do last episode is we need town members, and town members will want plots to claim. So we're going to need to set up some plots for them to claim. As you can see, we've got one here in this area that is already claimable because it says for sale $1,000. Yes, it's going to be expensive to live in my town, but if you want to do that at home, it's really simple. Go to the plot that you want to set for sale and just go plot for sale, or FS for short, and the cost, and there we go. Whenever you move from one plot to the next now, you should see, there we go, this plot is also up for sale. So you see my town is structured so that we've got residential plots, then the farms, and then the town wall. Obviously, if you're going to make a bigger town, you'll make more, but this is a small demonstration. One other thing, of course, if you want someone to join your town and claim a plot, they first need to be invited. So you as the mayor will need to do town invite and then the name of the person that you're inviting to the town. Obviously I can't invite myself, but that's the way you will invite them to town first. Once they've been invited to town, they've accepted the invitation, then they will be able to claim a plot by going over to the plot that they want and doing plot claim. And there you go, your town is now growing. Incidentally, if you do /town toggle open, then anybody will be able to join your town without you first needing to invite them, which is really handy if you want your town to grow really quickly. But obviously, if you want to just make sure you only have people you trust, then you might want to not set your town open so that you can decide who's in and who's out. So the next thing we need to look at is taxes, because obviously your town needs money to survive, and to get money we tax our residents. So there are a couple of ways of doing this. You can tax them a flat rate per day that they're living here. So for example, if you have 10 residents and you charge them 10 gold per day, you're going to get 100 gold per day into your town, which is great. It means you know exactly how much is coming in and you can plan for that. It does have its disadvantages though. If you set a flat fee like that and they can't pay, the day that they can't pay, they will get kicked from the town, which may not be something that you want. So it has its benefits and its drawbacks. If you set the town taxes to a percentage, then what that does is it makes sure that no matter how much or how little money a person has, they will always be able to pay their tax, because if it's a tax of 10%, then if they've only got 10 gold in their account, they will only pay $1 in tax. Whereas if they've got 1,000 gold in their account, then they will pay, what's 10%? 100. Hey! So how do we set taxes? Well, it's very simple. It's just do town or T set taxes and then the amount. So let's say I want to tax my residents 10 a day. There we go. That's the tax set. That's one towny day, usually 24 hours. Now, if you want to set that to a percentage instead of a flat fee, all you're going to do is town or T toggle tax percent. Really simple like that. Now I've done that. Now instead of 10 gold per day, they're now going to be paying 10% per day, which is very different. Obviously, the drawback to doing a percentage tax, where it has the benefit of not getting people kicked out if they don't have much, is that if you have a few residents who are very rich, they will be paying much more taxes than other people, which they may not regard as fair. So you may want to decide that based on what kind of players you've got and what kind of bank balances they've got. I would say that if you're using a percentage tax to do the tax really quite low, so I would maybe set the taxes to 1 or 2%. That generally seems to be quite fair, I've found. There is also one other way that you can tax your residents. Instead of taxing them per resident, you can tax per plot, so that if a person owns 10 plots, they will pay 10 times as much tax as a person who owns only one plot, which may be a way of making your town fairer. And the way you do that is really simple. T set plot tax and then the amount. So say we want to charge them $10 per plot per day, or 10 gold, whatever you call it. That's the way you do it. And then your residents will pay 10 per plot per day. Also be careful, because what this means is if you set a tax percentage per resident and a plot tax, they will pay both taxes, which can add up to quite a lot. So really do think through how you're going to be charging your residents. Now, if you want to see what you set for your taxes, you can look at your town screen anytime you like by doing /town or /t, and it will tell you how much that you're charging here, a tax of 2% that we set earlier there. If you want to see how much money you're going to be getting in from your plot taxes, you can also do town plots, and that gives us another different screen here that tells us how many plots that we own, what they are, how many farms you've got, how many jails, inns, whatever, all of those good things. But down here it will tell you how many resident plots that you have, how many are owned, how many are for sale, how many in total there are for your town, and how much revenue is being brought in from them. This is only an estimate though. Be careful, because that doesn't add up perfectly accurately, for the simple reason that if you have members of your town that have town ranks, they may be exempt from taxes, and that town plots command doesn't take into account people who aren't paying taxes because they are exempt. In order to explain plot types and groups, we're going to set up our town to have a road running to the edge of town, as you can see from our town spawn, to our town walls over there. And we're going to have these layers of farms. You can make these as big or as small as you like, over as many plots as you like. They're really simple. And then we're putting a simple wall around the outside to keep our town safe. So as you'd expect, just like we did last episode, we're going to claim these all for our town, like that, all of them, and then they are part of the town. And once we've done that, then we're going to tell the Towny plugin what kind of plot each plot is. Now I think that's all of them. So we're going to start with a farm. So once we go over to a farm plot like this and claim it, what we're going to do is we're going to do plot set farm. And what this does is make sure that the Towny plugin knows that this plot here is not a normal plot, it is a farm plot. And we're going to go over and claim our other farm over here, plot set farm. So now we have two farms, which if you pull up the Towny map, you can see is marked by an F on here. You can see the dollars is where we set our two plots for sale, and right in front of them here is our two farms, and right at the back there is our home plot with our town spawn in it. Now what we're going to do is have a look at some of the plot perms here. So we can look at the plot permissions by doing plot perm HUD, and that will bring up the scoreboard. Over on the side there you can see the plot permissions, and they will change depending on the plot that you're standing on. As you can see, it changes. Because we set these to farms now, it says that we can see R, which is residents, are able to build and destroy on these plots. Now obviously you can customize this and make these accessible by different kinds of people. We're not going to do that now, that's time for a later video I think. So what we're going to do next is we're going to have a look at this next layer, and if I bring up with F3 and G you can see these chunk borders just to help us see which plots are which. We've got the path here, the two farms. The next row of plots here has the wall inside them here, but the plot is claimed all the way to this outer edge. Now the reason I've done that is because we can choose these outer plots to be wilds plots. Now what that means is they work in a similar way to farms, except that in a farm the people can only build or destroy the crops themselves and not the land. Wilds, you can only destroy or build the plant life, really, basically trees, mushrooms, flowers, that kind of stuff. You can also mine ores. So this is a really handy way of protecting the out edge of your town to make it stay nice and pretty. People can't start terraforming here and wrecking the edges of your town. So I'm going to go over to this side and we're going to do plot set wilds. There we go, that's one done. And we're going to go over to this side and do plot set wilds again. And we've got 2 wilds plots. Now we're not going to do the middle one because the middle one is actually going to be a plot group. We're going to make a plot group for all of the path plots, which are going to have slightly different permissions because we're going to need permissions to allow people in and out of the town gates. So plot groups, some people will say this maybe is a little bit more of an advanced feature of the Towny plugin for towns. I don't think it is. I think it's really useful to know this really early on when you're first setting up your town. It will make modifying and customizing your town permissions much easier if you get it in there from the start. So we're going to demo that for you now. So let's start off with the farms. What we can do is make a plot group called farm. So what we're going to do is imagine we have lots of different farms, and some of the farms you want for residents, some of them you want to be accessible by outsiders. Some of your farms you might want nation members to be able to get access to as well. And you are able to set these as different groups so that you can customize the settings in multiple plots all at the same time. So let's imagine these 2 here we wanted to be suitable for outsiders to use. So we want to change our perms over here so that outsiders can farm in there as well. So we're going to call this plot group the outsider farms. So what we're going to do is we're going to create that group by doing plot group add outsider farm. That will create a group and assign the plot that we are on to that group. So now we have a plot group called Outsider Farm and 1 plot in it. We want to add another one so both of these can be in the same group, and all we would do is the exact same command again. Plot group add Outsider Farm, and that would add this one to this one. So now that we've created our Outsider Farm group, now we want to adjust the permissions on just our outsider farms, not on our other farms, if we imagine we might have other farms all over the town. The command you're going to do for that is, whilst standing on one of the plots of that group, so we're in one of our outsider farms here, we're going to do plot group set perm, and we're going to do outsider on. Now we can, we're prompted here to confirm the action. We're going to say confirm. And now what that does is that changes the perms not only on the plot that we're on. So as you can see now, outsiders have been given all permissions. But if we go over to our other one in the group, here we go. Here's our other outsider farm. And look, the permissions have changed here exactly the same as well. Now, in actual fact, we just wanted to give them the build and destroy permissions, not the switch and item ones. So if we wanted to do that a bit more specifically, we could just turn those back off and confirm. And if we just want to put a specific permission on for outsiders, we do plot group set perm outsider build on. And then we're going to have to confirm again. It does that because you're changing multiple plots, not just the one you're in. So that gives the build, and we're going to do the exact same one again, except we're going to take build out and put destroy. So there we go, and confirm. And now when we look at our permissions, we have both residents and outsiders able to build and destroy. Because it's a farm plot, they can't build and destroy any old thing. The Towny plugin forces them to only be able to build and destroy the actual plants or harvestable blocks themselves, and not the ground or the walls, which is really handy. Now, setting our farm groups is a basic example of this. One really good way of using plot groups that I have found is making a group for your roads so that you can control who can use the doors, because obviously once you've got a plot claimed, you can give the switch permission to whoever you want, and the switch permission will allow people or stop people from using doors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up for 1, 2 and 3, these 3 plots. I'm going to make a plot group called roads. So while standing on our first one, we're going to do plot group add roads, and there we go. So we have got a roads group now, and that one's in it. And then we can come to the next one, add that in, add the next one, and there we go. We have got a plot group called roads with 3 of them in it, and now we want to say that only residents can switch in them, which will mean that when someone comes to our outer gate here, if we put some stone pressure plates down in front of this, it means that only our residents can get in past the city wall, but no one else can. Okay, so now we're at our doors in our city walls, and at the moment, if you look at the permissions over here, no one has the permission to switch, which means no one is going to be able to get through these doors because no one has the switch permission that allows them to use those stone pressure plates. I have that permission because I'm the town mayor, so I can still get in and out, but no one else can get in and out. So how do we change that? Well, we're going to use the plot group command, just like we did before. We're going to do plot group set PERM, and we're going to do resident switch on. Now, what this will do is anyone on a plot that's in the roads group, so any of these 3 who is a resident, as you can see here, will be able to switch, which means they will be able to use buttons, levers, pressure plates, that kind of thing. So any resident coming to town should be able to just walk on in, no problem at all. But if you are not a resident, you cannot do that. You will also notice, and I'm going to turn back on the trunk borders here to show you, I've been a little bit sneaky about my positioning of the gates for the farms as well, because I put the actual gates to the farms not on the farm plot, but on the road plot, as you can see there, which means whilst we're on this, you can see this plot here has the same permissions as the outside road plot because it's another road plot. So that means a resident can also get in and out of the farms, no problem, but no one else can. Obviously, you're going to need to build bigger walls if you genuinely want to keep people out, but that's just for decoration. And the last little trick I'm going to show you here is if we want anyone to be able to get indoors, but not anyone getting into the farms, how are we going to do that? Because if we set the permissions for switch for everyone, then everyone will be able to use all 3 of those. Well, what we can do instead is to use a little trick with wooden pressure plates. So instead of having stone pressure plates here at the entrance, we can put wooden ones, and what that does is the wooden pressure plates aren't affected by the permissions of the Towny plugin, which means that anybody will be able to use these. Outsiders, residents, anybody on the server will be able to come in to your town through those doors, but when they're on this plot now, if they're not a resident, they will not be able to use the stone pressure plates to get into the farms. Well done if you've made it this far. You have successfully navigated your 2nd day as a Towny mayor. We have a secure town, we have farms for our residents, we have claimable plots, and we even have money coming in. But next episode we're going to be looking at even more stuff that you can do as a Towny mayor. We're going to be looking at some of the other really cool plot types that we can use, like jails, shops, embassies. We're even going to have a look at claiming an outpost and plenty more besides. So guys, enjoy your time in Towny, and we'll see you in the next one.